Now we go with Anwesha Subudhi. Okay, so it says, I'm Anwesha, 3D environment, a hard surface artist focusing on props and lighting. I'm about to graduate and aiming for a junior environment journalist role at a game studio. My main confusion is how to move ahead, since many studios ask for either Unreal Engine or Unity experience, and I'm unsure which one to prioritize. I would personally prioritize Unreal, because as an artist, it's a lot easier to understand the Unreal pipeline than the Unity one. But either, whichever one you pick, it's pretty much the... It's not going to make that much of a difference, because as an environment artist, you're not expected to do all of the setup instead of the artist. Tech artists are usually going to be doing that kind of stuff. Furniture, prop, vintage armchair. Nice. This one looks nice. Okay, very common issue, guys. A very common issue with wood. Usually, in woodworking, the grain of the wood will go in the direction... The grain of the wood... The grain of the wood needs to go in the direction of the longest section, because this is what's going to give the wood the most strength. If we have this one right here, for instance, that one works fine. This one's working fine. This one's working fine. These ones are going against the grain. If you kick this thing, if you apply enough force in this thing, it's going to break very, very easily. That's what I actually do when you're doing like karate competitions and you're breaking wood. They will cut the wood planks on the direction of the strike, so that it's easier for them to break, and so that they don't splinter, right? Because if they splinter, they're gonna just like cause a lot of damage to your arm or to your leg. So what you need to make sure here is, instead of substance, make sure to change the direction of the wood grain against or along the longest surface. It's a very common thing that people miss, but it's very important to give a nice realism to the elements. Again, not always, but it's a helpful thing to remember. So this one, great. The only thing that we need here, my friend, there we go, wireframes, awesome. Yep, that's great. That's a great prop right there. Stylized lantern, nice. You don't need to add this background right here. I feel like this, and this is actually another important technical thing. When doing night scenes, guys, if you expose so that you can see this part right here, the stars are not going to be exposed. And this is a very common thing that conspiracy theorists used about the moon landing. If you take a look at the moon picture, or picture from the moon, this one's right here. One of the things that people say is like, where are the stars? Why are we not seeing the stars when we're seeing the Earth? Well, that's because the stars need to be exposed at a different time for the camera to really catch all of that information. So if you're exposing to only see the Earth, you're not going to see the stars. And if you're exposing to see the stars, what's going to happen is everything else is going to be blown out of proportion. So if you take a look at star photography, right? Look at this. If you take a picture of this, look at how exposed all of this area is over here, right? Because we're exposing so that we can see, in this case, the galaxies right there. So when you have something like this, if you want the center of attention to be your main lamppost right here, you're not going to see these things right here. They're going to be blurred like what you have right here, but they're also going to be really, really underexposed. So be very careful about your exposures. This is something that I also learned quite a long time ago when I was doing a space scene. I actually don't have that in my portfolio. I don't know why I don't have that picture in my portfolio, but you definitely want to underexpose the background, right? Like the background should be pretty much dark when the exposure is here on the front of the camera. Yeah, contrast ratios. There you go, Alan. That's it. So this was one of my portfolio pieces from back at Noman, and this was one of the feedbacks that I got from my teacher. Like, this is the image that I submitted as my piece, and he was like, it looks very cool. I like it. I like the composition. It's just like alien explorers, right? Like exploring the moon or whatever planet. But the critiques that I got were the ground looks very bad, right? Like, it's just like a very basic texture. I would like to see some bigger craters and some smaller craters. Right now it looks very uniform. It looks a little bit weird. I would like to see some rocks or something, right? Like, because it just looks very, very bland, similar to what we were talking about, the meatball thing on the rock that we saw a couple of portfolios ago. It's like, you could have spent a little bit more time on the rocks. I actually didn't think about that because the rocks were not part of the original concept, but it was one of the things that got criticized. And the other one was this, like, if you're exposing to see this low contrast and this glowy bits on the characters, you would not see the galaxy on the back, unless the galaxy is extremely bright. Like, you would not be seeing this. So I think I have another shot right here. That's the concept. There you go. So this concept was a little bit more realistic, where there was nothing on the background. So we could still have the lens flare and everything, but we would not be having this a super bright galaxy. It looks cool, so that's where you can always use a little bit of feedback from your art director or from your client and be like, hey, I know this is not realistic, but do you like it? And if they do like it, then sure, go for it. Just keep in mind that this is not how it would work on the real world, okay? So Anwesha, the final one that I want to check is this one right here. It definitely looks a lot nicer. I like the overall feel and the overall vibe on this one. I like the props, but it's too dirty. Like, this is another very common mistake. When you guys are presenting your renders, don't add these filters. It just looks too noisy. It's too noisy. It doesn't help to read the elements like properly. You don't see this in movies, right? Like, I understand that this is a Polaroid and it should be this sort of like effect, but it's just not working. I don't think it's working if you want to go for this Polaroid effect, and it's just making it more difficult. This is much better, especially for a portfolio. It's much better to be able to appreciate an asset like this with its clean like textures and elements that it would be to do something like this. Now, in the assets, my friend, one of the things that we definitely need to do is make them a little bit more complex, right? So let's go here to Krita. So for instance, this thing right here is just a basic like gold element. What if we made it so that it's more like an arrow shape, right? And add some bolts there, the borders. Same for the wood. What if for this wood we decide to add a little bit more of a hard bevel, right? Or something. Like, I just feel this looks way too basic for a 3D modeling, and we gotta be careful with those models. I understand that maybe you went very simple with some of these elements because you had a lot of them, but be very careful with them because you don't want to make things, again, too simple. You always want your portfolio and your product to really stand out, and when you see simple models, it sort of like defeats the purpose, right, of standing out.